Thank you, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, for your continued support. Thank you, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown Atlanta, for your monthly contribution. Thank you, Center for Spiritual Living North Jersey, for your monthly contribution. And please help us welcome Om Center for Spiritual Living in La Mesa, California. Thank you for your monthly donation. Thank you, Center for Spiritual Living Seattle, for your most generous donation. And a special thanks to Heckerland Foundation for your generous technology grant. And Suze Odgen, thank you for your very generous donation. And a big shout out to all our committed donors.
New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
Live from a secure concrete bunker somewhere in Ohio, New Thought Media Network presents Pastor Michael Mangus with Friday's Fireside Chat, spiritual conversation for today. Here he is from the secret radio room, surrounded by thousands of watts, Pastor Michael Mangus.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And welcome to everyone across the nation and also around the world. It is time once again for another fun-filled, thrill-packed, and guaranteed, always exciting edition of the Fireside Chat here on the New Thought Media Network. I am Pastor Michael Mangus, and I am broadcasting from the super secret concrete bunker located somewhere around Akron, Ohio. That is so top secret that only two people know where it's located. And those two people are Diego Reyes, my producer, and also our guest commentator, the Reverend Dr. Charlette Manning. Good to see everyone here. And we do have a great show for you today. We are taping early again so that we can get the wonderful commentary from Dr. Manning. If you would like to comment, please do so. Please also go into StreamYard, and you'll be able to comment right on our pages. And for all my shy people out there, I know you're out there, okay? You don't like commenting on the air. Just send me an email, pastormichaelmangus@gmail.com, pastormichaelmangus@gmail.com, and I read those during the week. So again, thank you so very much for contacting me. Really appreciate that. So the purpose of our Fireside Chat here is for us to really have a loving conversation about what is happening in the world. And as I keep saying to everyone, we need to have a new thought about what is going on in the world and also our participation in it. Again, we talk about this whole idea of oneness. And I really believe that we all have a part to play. in bringing about a world that does work for everyone. So again, as our special guest commentator this evening, we're pleased to have Amazon bestselling author, speaker, and minister, the Reverend Dr. Charlette Manning, whose Sunday night masterclass, 8 Eastern, 6 Mountain, here on the New Thought Media Network has been highly successful and well received. So much so is that the boss, the Reverend Robert Brzezinski, the Chief Inspirational Officer of the New Thought Media Network, he will be Charlette's special guest on Sunday evening. You wait, Dr. Manning, until I give him the $1,000 bill I just received for your hair and makeup. Yeah. He'll say, "Oh, pay it out of petty cash." Yeah, that's right. I'd like to wish everyone, again, we started the countdown to Easter, or the countdown to spring, on Wednesday, March 2nd, with the beginning of Ash Wednesday. And again, it's 40 days of preparation up to Easter time. And again, in most places, most New Thought centers, is that there's some type of practice that we do for 40 days. Again, instead of in the Catholic or Orthodox tradition is you give up something. In the New Thought tradition, what we do is let's eliminate negative thinking. And so I'm trying to get a guest on to talk more about how to have a proper Lent to prepare for Resurrection Day or Easter Sunday coming up here. In the news, the opening ceremony of the Winter Paralympics kicks off in Beijing today, and a record number of para-athletes, around 700 of them, are ready to showcase their skills in events such as alpine skiing and wheelchair curling. That'll be interesting. Notably absent, though, are around 80 Russians who were banned from competing in the wake of Russia's invasion of the Ukraine. Speaking about the Ukraine, Russian troops have occupied Ukraine's largest nuclear power plant, where a fire that had threatened potential disaster was extinguished in the early hours this morning, according to Ukraine's nuclear regulator. Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky urged Europe leaders to wake up now and stop the Russian forces before this becomes a nuclear disaster. The fire at the nuclear power plant has raised concerns from world leaders and also the International Atomic Energy Agency, which has called for a halt to fighting around the facility due to potentially catastrophic safety concerns. In a Facebook post earlier today, Zelensky accused Russian troops of committing a terror attack by intentionally firing at the power plant, potentially risking the lives of millions. One of those blow up, you are in deep. Yes, there are 50 nuclear reactors in the Ukraine. If one of them blows, that is the end for everyone, and that is the end of Europe, and all of Europe will have to evacuate. Wow. Videos show the aftermath of Russian military strikes that has hit an apartment complex as invading troops lay siege to key Ukrainian cities. This also from CNN: children moved to basement of hospital in Kyiv as shelling continues. As the Russians' assault on Kyiv steps up, some of the city's most vulnerable residents cannot leave. For the Ukrainian capital's largest children's hospital, shutting down is not an option, even with the sound of heavy fighting and shelling outside. Children who are too sick to be transferred have been moved to the basement in case the bombardment starts again. And there are around 10 patients that are being treated in the underground hallway where exhausted staff hover nervously. Resources are stretched tight as hospitals deal with trauma injuries. So some parents have stepped in to help care for other children in the basement. Non-essential procedures are now on hold. When CNN visited the hospital, one 11-year-old boy needed to have his sutures removed, but the risk of infection is too high. With no clear end in sight for many families here, the only glimmer of hope is evacuation. And on Thursday, Ukrainian and Russian delegations met in Belarus for another round of talks, where they agreed to provide humanitarian corridors for civilians and also a possible temporary ceasefire in areas where the evacuation is happening. And this is a news article that Dr. Manning and I were talking about beforehand. UN agency says that it has received credible reports of discrimination at the Ukrainian border. The International Organization for Migration has received credible and verifiable reports of discrimination experienced at the Ukrainian border by foreign nationals attempting to flee violence amid Russia's ongoing invasion. We have reports, credible reports, verified reports, and we are acting with the authorities on both sides, said the spokesperson for the IOM. And we've already approached the authorities both in the Ukraine and the neighboring countries to make sure everyone who is fleeing the country, irrespective of their nationality, of their territory of origin, of the color of their skin, is allowed to cross, he said. Let me translate that. If you are of a darker skin tone than the rest of the Ukrainian population, and again, Dr. Manning was speaking to me about three mothers who helped get some Black students out of Ukrainian territory. We'll talk to her more about that later. But the reason they're not letting them out is because, again, of their darker colored skin, brown or black. They all have proper documentation, but they're not letting them out. Wow. So our prayers continue here for the Ukraine. And we have received reports of CSL member centers and also practitioners in the Ukraine that are spending nights in underground shelters. And there have been reports that the Russian attack has been slowed down because of anti-tank missiles and supply problems of getting fuel and supplies to the Soviet troops. They thought, military analysts have said on several different channels, that this was going to be easy peasy, that they were going to be able to, again, to get supplies in the Ukraine. But that's not happening here. From reports, the Russians did not expect such a severe pushback from the Ukrainians. And there have been reports that Russian troops are just giving up to the Ukrainian armed forces because of lack of supplies. So we need to continue the high watch here. And hopefully next week I'll have one of the practitioners from the United States who is in contact with the CSL practitioners in the Ukraine. And also, if you have an Orthodox Ukrainian church in your area, Many of them are having weekly, if not daily, prayers. We at NT Media are also praying for peace in the Ukraine, and our prayers are working here. Let us continue to keep the high watch and know peace in the Ukraine and also in the world. Well, hi there, welcome. You are in tune with the New Thought Media Network and also the Friday evening Fireside Chat hosted by yours truly, Pastor Michael Mangus. A jury yesterday found Brett Hankison not guilty of endangering Breonna Taylor's neighbors in a botched raid that left Taylor dead. The former Louisville Metro Police Department detective was the only officer charged in the connection with the March 2020 shooting, but the charges were not for her death. Hankinson, 45, was tried for firing bullets through Taylor's window and sliding glass door that went into a neighboring apartment where 3 people were present. Hankinson said that he did not realize at the time that there was another apartment positioned directly behind Taylor's. Combined with the killings of George Floyd and Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor's death set off widespread protests on how the legal system treats Black citizens, as well as particular criticism regarding the dangers of no-knock warrants. No-knock warrants are dangerous for everybody. Let's get real clear about that, my commentary here. And there was only one officer charged in the raid, and it wasn't for Breonna Taylor's death. And the charge was for endangering someone else in another department. The way that we conduct law enforcement in this country is blatantly racist, and it must change, period. And we must continue to hold not only law enforcement responsible, but we also must hold the elected officials, the people that we put in those offices, to protect our public safety, to end racism now, period. Well, here's some good news from the coronavirus front. Finally, some good news here. Most people in the U.S. live in areas where healthy individuals no longer need to wear a mask, but more than 472 counties across the country still have high COVID-19 levels where mask wearing is recommended, according to the latest CDC data. Yesterday, the agency said more than 90% of the U.S. residents are now in a location with low or medium COVID-19 community levels, including here in Summit County, here in Akron, Ohio. Experts say that this is a promising sign that we may be near to the tail end of the pandemic as more counties continue to roll back mask mandates. Only one state and one U.S. territory, Hawaii and also Puerto Rico, have indoor mask mandates and have not announced plans to lift those requirements. And meanwhile, the U.S. Surgeon General yesterday launched an effort to get to the bottom of COVID-19 misinformation and has requested input and data from tech companies, healthcare providers, and also community organizations. Also, some good news here from the pharmaceutical front. $30. That's how much Civica RX, a nonprofit generic drug maker, will charge for a vial of insulin in 2024. Insulin, which more than 8 million Americans with diabetes depend on, have been a poster child for the soaring cost of prescription drugs. Though insulin costs very little to make, the list price on brand name products is roughly, get this, $300 a vial. According to the foundation which co-founded Civica RX, Let's understand that there was no patents applied for when they discovered insulin to make it low cost. Good for Civica RX doing the right thing. Last, before we do announcements and go to our break here, a two-part story. And the second part I will share with the Reverend Dr. Charlette Manning, who's our guest commentator this evening. They both involve witches. Get this, pagan and witches offer prayers for peace in the Ukraine. We stand here helpless under this crescent moon. We stand here helpless as the inevitable happens. Reads the beginning of a pagan prayer for the Ukraine and its people, written by H. Byron Ballard. After news of the Russian invasion of the Ukraine spread, pagans and witches joined thousands of other faith leaders in praying for peace and for strength. Ballard, who's an Asheville, North Carolina-based witch and priestess, shared her personal prayer and a photo of her altar, welcoming others to join her in holding space for the Ukrainian people. Her prayer continues, holding in our hearts the children, the elders, the soldiers called up and those left behind, the trees and the brooks, the lambs, the calves, all held here in the folds of our ragged souls. For your fear, your peril, your rage, your resistance, we stand witness. We stand with you and for you. Your grief is our grief. May justice be served. May allies come swift. By this crescent moon's frail light, we stand. Ballard's call to action was answered by hundreds of pagans, shared on Facebook alone 700 times, both by pagans and non-pagans alike. One friend added her own Catholic twist, calling for additional prayers from both God and Mary. And Ballard was not the only pagan calling for peace and calm. Across the country, pagans lit peace candles on their altars and asked their gods to protect the region's people. Independent calls for collective energy and also spell work to promote peace are now popping up in a variety of online and also offline witch communities. The dates of such events will vary. Joining all of these prayers from her home in Florida, pagan priestess Christian Wilson, isn't that interesting? Also expressed something that many in the U.S. are feeling, helplessness. And she says, I lift a prayer for the world because that's all that I can do now. And I have a story that goes into our file of pastors who are doing stupid things. And I'll let it go at that until we talk to the Reverend Dr. Charlette Manning. Hello, welcome. This is the Friday evening Fireside Chat here on the New Thought Media Network. We are recording here early so that we can have Dr. Manning on, who has other engagements this evening. So yours truly now is parking himself at Summit CSL here in Akron. For more information, go to summitcsl.org. There you will find information about our wonderful Sunday gathering online at 10:30 Eastern, 7:30 Pacific time. Grab your cup of coffee, your tea, your espresso, your chai, your boba tea, whatever wakes you up in the morning, and please join us. And I really do believe that we have one of the best services in New Thought. And the reason being is because we have a balance of meditation, a balance of message, and a balance of music. And this Sunday, we will start our March theme on beauty with our spiritual director, Diana Mangus, speaking on beauty, butterflies, and you. So go on the summitcsl.org page for more information on how to join the Zoom call. It's real easy. And our service is also simulcast on the Summit Spiritual Center of Akron Facebook page, and our Facebook page also has past broadcasts of the Fireside Chat and yours truly when he is praying on the New Thought Media Network. The schedule for our wonderful network is changing almost daily. We are adding new programming almost daily. So many wonderful things are happening. We have morning prayer and also evening prayer at 8:15 Mountain. We have, again, a variety of New Thought centers and churches from around the nation that have a slot on Sundays. We have programming during the week to uplift you. We have all kinds of wonderful things that are going on here. We are the online center that supports you wherever you are at. And so we ask lovingly for your financial support. We ask you to catch the vision like we have here at the New Thought Media Network to get this powerful, practical spirituality out to the world. And again, it's been over the past few years that some ministers have taken upon themselves to start their own broadcasts, which are wonderful. However, the reach of this wonderful philosophy needs to go to the whole world, especially at this time. A practical spirituality that focuses on the spiritual, not the religious. So please help us. Please catch the vision with us. That's ntmedia.org. And if you could go on to the donate page, there you can give a very generous one-time gift, or you can do like myself and Dr. Manning do, and that is we give on a monthly basis. And the reason being, again, because that helps us stabilize the finances and, again, helps us to meet all of our budgets. ntmedia.org/donate. And thank you so very much. We will be back with the talented and beautiful the Reverend Dr. Charlette Manning here in just a moment. You're watching the Fireside Chat here on the New Thought Media Network.
New Thought Media Network is on the rise. We're looking to grow with you. Do you have technical media experience or perhaps a desire to learn? Are you willing to volunteer your precious time and attention? We share this message to benefit all. If you possess a computer with a camera and a microphone, we will share our knowledge with you. Behind the scenes or being the star, let us bless our one. Contact us at info@ntmedia.org.
The views and opinions expressed by Pastor Michael Mangus are generally right. However, they are his own and do not reflect the views and opinions of New Thought Media Network, Centers for Spiritual Living, or any other person living or dead. As they say in the 12-Step Recovery Program, take what you like and leave the rest. Here again is Pastor Michael.
From our New Thought Media Network Bureau in Washington, D.C. Behind her computer with the red phone right next to her, in case Robert calls, is the host of the Sunday Evening Masterclass here on the New Thought Media Network, my longtime friend, the Reverend Dr. Charlette Manning. Hello there. Welcome.
Always a pleasure, my brother. Always a pleasure. Thank you for having me on and being willing to come on early so that we can have this important conversation today, because I do think that it is an important conversation. So can I make some corrections up front though?
Yes, you may. Go ahead.
Number one, if somebody submitted a budget of $1,000 for my hair and makeup, I want to know who did that, because there is no way, no how. So let's clear that up first. Okay. First of all, I don't need that much attention because I'm a natural beauty.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay. So whoever told you that or whoever submitted that, I would like for them to.
It's your people submitted it to me.
Well, I want to know what my people that did that, because we're going to have a conversation. Okay.
Gonna have a come to Jesus meeting with them, huh?
Have a come to Jesus conversation. Okay.
All right.
Now that we got that straight.
Now hold it. Now you're going to have to talk to Robert on Sunday evening.
Yep. Robert's going to be on my show this Sunday night. And I just saw a note here that I'm supposed to be doing something with Robert on Wednesday at 3:30. I don't know what it is, but I guess it will be revealed. So, he has, let me just say something about him, and I certainly will address this and on Sunday. But the reason that I have made the commitment to be a part of this network, because I just think that Robert has an incredible vision about how the world should look, and how, as energy beings, because we are energy beings, spiritual beings having a human experience. But I think our awareness of that shifts, and we think that we are physical beings having, I won't even say a spiritual experience, because most of the things that we're doing don't reflect that.
Yes.
But I think that he's working in a way to bring more attention to that. So I like the fact that we do talk about, topics that are sometimes difficult to address. However, we talk about them putting a spin on, a new thought spin on those things. So before, we really get into what is happening to the Ukraine, and I'm wearing my my colors in representation of that, I wanted to share. I think it is interesting and inspiring, which is inspiriting, that the colors of the Ukrainian flag are yellow and royal blue. Yes. And those two chakra colors are very dynamic, spiritual, energetic colors. So, we live in a world of cause and effect, of course, but we live in a world of energy, all energy. So regardless of whether there's a vibration for every chakra, every musical note, every color on the spectrum, there is a vibration associated with that. Yes?
Yes, absolutely.
So when we get into the dynamic of what we're seeing and how it is unfolding in this country, it is biblical, really. And I remember when I was in Tony Robbins' school, years ago, taking his coaching program, one of the things that Tony said, that there are only 10 or 12 different things that have happened in the world. Everything else is a repeat. or a different spin on the same kind of energy or activity. So when the first I saw this flag, because Ukraine has been that we've been aware of the Ukraine, but it has been basically in obscurity. I mean, it's not been this big, force of nature.
Yes.
Okay. However, when we talk about it biblically, which we will, it takes me to David and Goliath. But I want to look at these colors again because I think they are very significant. And regardless of whether you see the dominant color being yellow or the dominant color being royal blue, the colors are very significant vibrationally. So there's 7 chakras in the body. Yes?
Yeah. Oh,
Each one,
absolutely.
yeah. Each
And
one
I
of
can
them,
even name the colors where the
yeah.
colors are. Well,
Oh,
the,
absolutely.
the the color of yellow is in the solar plexus.
Well, that's what I'm getting ready. Don't be stepping on my line
Oh,
now.
I'm sorry.
You hear him, Diego? He's stepping on my line now.
Yeah, he's clapping in the background. Go ahead.
So the yellow is the third chakra, and it represents the solar plexus, and that solar plexus represents self-esteem and willpower. So, when you have those butterflies in your stomach, or rather you are in karate, you get that power, that power comes from your solar plexus. And the color of that energy is yellow.
Yes.
So when we think in terms of if you need a description, when you think of I think of two things. I think of a butterfly and I think of a dandelion. A dandelion is a weed, but a dandelion can break through concrete.
It's
That
amazing.
yellow, that
Yes.
yellow is so profound. Its willpower and its intention, even though it is a weed, is so profound that it breaks through concrete. Love that. The other one is the royal blue, which it represents the third eye. And the third eye is around intuition and foresight. So when we start thinking, when we start talking about imagination, and we start talking about illumination, and when we start talking about, dreaming the dream, we can the laws of cause and effect, or the law of attraction, all of those desires. First a thought, then a thing. So as we have the imagination, that third eye opens up to the seventh and crown chakra that allows the energy of your I am to come forth in this earthly or physical manifestation, which takes me to, you want to add something to that? 'Cause
No,
I
you're
know that
you're
you are,
no, you're absolutely right on as
yeah,
far as with your
yeah.
description of the
So
chakras. Go ahead.
yeah, so in order for me to get to the story, I just needed to be able to set this up a little bit and to be saying, there are two, as I have grown up in the civil rights movement, and I grew up in the very early days of the, you know, the manifestation of the idea that none of us are free until all of us are free. I have an incredible respect and uh, energetic connection of vibration to this president in the Ukraine. And he just so reminds me, and the parallel of this is so biblical, that I am just blown away that, and I pray for him, and I pray for those people, because I believe that on the other side of this world has not seen, in my opinion, the moral outrage globally since George Floyd. And I mean that people are protesting in Russia.
Yes. And getting arrested too.
Over 6,000 people have been arrested. Now, I can't remember the guy's name, but you remember the guy that they poisoned and he was on the airplane and then they had to fly him till they got well. And then he ended up turning himself in. This guy's in jail, we think, if he's still alive. He's in jail. So we know what happens when you go against that Philistine empire. And that's what Goliath is. What's interesting is that, and please interrupt me if you want to add something to this, but I knew we were going to be talking about this today, and I really wanted to draw some parallels because this news ain't all bad news. You know, birthing is painful.
Yes.
It's bloody. It's outrageous. But the midwives and the midmen that are watching the unfolding of this new birth and this new consciousness under the auspices or the guise of this little guy from the Ukraine, a comedian, a dancer on Dancing with the Stars, Ukraine. This guy is beyond anything that anybody ever expected. Now, what some people may not know is he's 5'7". So is Putin. He is walking. He is walking, connecting, being a leader in the Ukraine and not hiding in a bunker. Now,
isn't that wonderful?
Yeah. So he has already made the mark. And as I said, I pray for him because I do hope that he and his family go on the other side of this, that they are able to remain alive on the other side of this, because I personally believe he represents what the what is that thing that they give you? Peace, what Dr. King got, Nobel Peace Prize. He represents peace beyond all understanding. This guy is saying, you know what? We had Dr. King and we had Malcolm X. Dr. King was into, nonviolence and going through the entire process as Gandhi did. But Malcolm X said, yeah, that's all fine and good, but you got to have some people willing to hit the street. And Malcolm X made a statement many, many, many years ago, and this transcends Nat Turner and some of the revolutionaries during the emancipation of slaves in this country. And Malcolm X said, there's nothing more powerful than a Black man who is willing to die for his freedom. And I say the same thing about the people of the Ukraine. These guys are dropping off their wives and their children, and it really makes me emotional. These guys are dropping off their wives and their children, not knowing if they will ever see them again. But they're standing up for the freedom of this country. And it is unfortunate that even in the midst of that, you have racist individuals that will create or add a distasteful spin on this. Now, I believe in calling a thing, as Iyanla says. And I don't think that the people that are creating the racial uncertainty for these students in the Ukraine represent the majority of the people of Ukraine.
I don't believe that.
I don't believe that. And I'm the first person to call a thing. But I will also say that on top of that, these students were able to express on camera via social media, TikTok, Twitter, all of that. I said, there's some good from social media now.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes. And you had these students where they were saying they wouldn't let them on the train, or that they, they were saying that women and children, I think the quote was, I do think they have been treated differently at borders because of their skin color. Racism is now happening even in situations where there is war. However, these students were able to express via social media. And what happened? Mothers went into action. Three women in London started raising money to get those kids out of there.
Yes.
Okay. And then I'm going to pause. What happened was they said, look, if they're not going to help them get out, we're going to do everything that we need to do. Now, just remember, just like voting in this country, there are people out there that are going to attempt everything that they can to keep you from doing the thing that you most need to do. But
Yes.
they cannot prevent you. They can make it harder. And that's where we need to step in and step up.
Yes.
So this network, for me, is our opportunity to share the birthing of this new consciousness, and that the moral outrage across the globe is being felt in such a dynamic way that it supersedes the fact that these children are having difficulty. They are also having people that they're trying to, mothers, parents that they're trying to get out of the Ukraine that have no papers and all of that. So there are a multitude of challenges that they're facing to get out of there. However, we serve an almighty God. And there's no power and no presence in this universe that is greater than that. God ain't black, white. God ain't Jew or Gentile. God ain't Protestant or Catholic. God ain't male or female. The energy of the I am, that yellow and that blue, is the power and the presence of the universe that is manifesting itself across this planet.
Yes.
So as a midwife, and I'm done, as a midwife, my job is simply to state on the regular, as often as I can, as powerfully as I can, let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
Absolutely. Well, if you wondered what you stumbled onto this evening, hi there. This is the Friday evening fireside chat here on the New Thought Media Network, all the way from Washington, D.C. We have our guest commentator and also my good friend, the Reverend Dr. Charlette Manning, as we comment on the news. So I wanted to read this article about, we heard before the break, article about how the witches and people of the pagan religions, which again are, I don't consider them pagan. Again, all that means is rural. Does not mean it's the original religions. So anyhow, how they are banding together to pray for the Ukraine. Again, from the file that says on the top, ministers who do stupid things. Are you ready for this? Tennessee preacher Greg Locke says demons told him the names of witches in his church. The offering was over, and the worship team at Global Vision Bible Church has just finished singing, "Oh, How I Love Jesus," when Reverend Greg Locke began telling his church about his conversation with demons. Those demons, he said, had revealed the names of a group of full-blown, spell-casting witches who had been sent to infiltrate Global Vision, which is a non-denominational church east of Nashville, Tennessee, where Locke is pastor. To God be the glory, I lie not, he told the congregation at Global Vision on Sunday, February 13th, which was meeting in a packed tent on the church property. He said, we got the first and the last names of 6 witches who are now in our church. And you know what's strange? 3 of them are here with us right now. And Locke told his congregation that he had gotten the names while casting a demon out of a woman who had recently began coming to Global Vision. The preacher, known for his sensationalist sermons about politics and COVID-19, went on to describe the exorcism in detail, quoting a demon with a scruffy voice who accused worshipers at the church of being witches. 2 of the witches, he said, were in his wife's Bible study, Locke said, who warned the alleged witches to not make a move during the sermon. And then he retold the New Testament story of Jesus casting a demon out of a man into a herd of pigs, turning it into an extended monologue about witches in the church. He said this, he says, "You so much as cough wrong, and I'll expose you in front of everybody under this tent." He says, "You were sent to destroy this church." Now, an edited clip of this sermon that Locke preached was posted online by atheist writer Hermat Mehta, who I saw a wonderful blog called The Friendly Atheist. But he went ahead and he said, Locke said in his words were taken out of context in the edited video. I went through personally Locke's sermon from the 13th, and I'm going to tell you something. It wasn't the case. He said, Locke, who recently held a book burning of Harry Potter novels and other satanic works, also said troublemakers in the church had brought the witches to Global Vision to lure his church members into adultery. And he said, hand to God, he said, in the name of Jesus, if I'm lying, if I'm over-exaggerating what I'm trying to tell the people for the purpose of clicks and likes, may I drop dead preaching on this platform, having blasphemed the power of the Holy Ghost in front of everyone.
Wow.
Oh, I just shake my head when I hear stories like this. Again, all in the name of God. Greg Locke gives the titled pastor a bad name. And Global Vision has receiving packages of crystals, pentagrams, and magic herbs. I wonder why. Your comment, Dr. Manning.
What can I say? Ignorance is bliss. That's all I can say. Because if you don't know scripture, you don't understand scripture, certainly, there are those that have used scripture to their own advancement and to many's detriment, and I remember again back in the day, if you went to church, if you had on red lipstick, you were a hussy. Okay.
Absolutely.
If you wore red nail polish, you were a floozy.
That's
if
right.
you wore black stockings with seams up the back, you were a harlot. I mean, we have used, and it's interesting to me that we continue to use fear of God to evoke our agendas. There is, that just really, that bothers me, because there are vulnerable people out there that really embrace this sort of thing. So we know what they did the witches, to the witches of Salem. We know throughout our history where, and most of these atrocities have been bestowed upon women, in order to justify the pagan behavior of these ministers that you speak of. These ministers that do not follow the gospel that they teach. They certainly do not embrace the gospel that they preach. And above all things, they are damaging the consciousness of the collective. The good news is and I firmly believe God will always have God's way.
Yes.
And there are many avenues towards that power and that presence. There's an avenue of Christianity. There's an avenue of Islam. There is an avenue of Krishna and Buddha, or Hinduism, Buddhism, all of that. But there is only one destination. We all end up in the same energetic force if we believe in that power. Now that's my thing, and I'm sticking to it. Now I believe that you can have hell on earth or you can have heaven on earth. That's up to you. And I do get sucked into the abyss of that negative energy force. The good news again is I know how to get out.
Yes.
So
Well,
I think that is why we continue to do the work that we're doing now, Michael.
yes, and
Continue.
yeah, and I think that, again, that with
That's sad.
people who are vulnerable, who again are looking for answers,
Yeah.
that I just, again, it's a misuse of power. And I remember a story that I was talking with a group of people from ARE, from the Edgar Casey group, at a bookstore. And there was a young man with a Bible over in the corner, okay, which I didn't pay any attention to. So I go out to my car. He walks out with me. And he said, "You know what you're preaching is wrong." And he says, "I see demons in you. I see at least 6 to 7 demons." And it was
And
one of
you
those
said,
it was one of those nights I was trying to get, I didn't comment back to this guy, but my voice inside my head said, "You've just seen the spirit of the Antichrist."
well, and
And
also what the eyes are the window to the,
so,
and what he sees in you is only what is manifesting within himself.
right. We got the music going in the background, which means we got to get out of here.
I didn't get
Again,
to talk about David and Goliath, but we'll do that another time.
we'll do that probably Sunday evening here. So again, thank you so very much. Thank you, Dr. Manning. We will see you Sunday evening for Sunday Evening Masterclass, 8 p.m. Eastern, 6 o'clock Mountain, here on the New Thought Media Network. We will be there. And our special guest this week will be the CIO, the Chief Inspirational Officer of the New Thought Media Network. That is the Reverend Robert Brzezinski. So I'll see you Sunday, Dr. Manning.
Thank you, honey.
Thank you.
Always
All
a
right,
pleasure.
Thank you. And so we will see everyone again this weekend. Again, go to ntmedia.org, push on the donate button. I'll tell you what, we have the opportunity to reach the world with the good news, with the gospel. So again, help us out there. ntmedia.org/donate. On behalf of myself and also Dr. Manning and our producer, Diego Reyes, this is Pastor Michael Mangus wishing you a wonderful week.
Thanks for joining us this evening for Friday's Fireside Chat with Pastor Michael Mangus. Join us again next week at 8 Eastern, 6 Mountain for more spiritual conversations for today. For more information and replays of past shows, please visit the New Thought Radio and Media Network's Facebook page. Until next week, may God bless you richly and abundantly.